Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. The Phils get smoked by the Mets, their worst loss of the year, and it was a gutless performance in a lot of ways up at Citi Field.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for over 5 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for the past 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure that you're rating and reviewing if you're listening to us in podcast form. Appreciate that if you're doing that. And if you're checking us out on YouTube, where you can watch Locked On Phillies, you can subscribe and leave likes on the videos that you like. We just crossed the 5,000 subscriber threshold. So thank you so much to everybody who has already hit that subscribe button. It's free and easy to do. It gets you notifications when new episodes are posted. And when there are big things happening with the team, it's a great thing to have, like, last night, even though that was not a great game. We'll talk about that in a second. I do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Oh, was last night a mess or what? That was easily the worst loss of the season for the Philadelphia Phillies. I can't even think of a close second. That's as bad as it gets in basically every single way. I'm not happy today, and you shouldn't be either as a Philadelphia Phillies fan. And there's so much to break down. And I also know that there are a lot of Mets fans that are probably going to be checking in on this video because they love to kick us when we're down. And guess what? We like to do the same things to them. So welcome in if you're a Mets fan who wants to enjoy the sorrows of Phillies fans today. We should have them. We got our teeth kicked in last night up there in Citi Field in Queens. So we're going to talk about just everything in general, just the stream of consciousness of like what went wrong and what we should be ticked off about. And hopefully what you're feeling this morning is what I echo on the podcast today. Then we're going to look a little deeper at 2 pitching performances from last night. Cristopher Sanchez, Jordan Romano. One, maybe not as concerning as it did look. One, just as concerning and probably more so than it even looked, and a guy that needs to be off this team. And then we'll wrap up today's episode by taking a look at game 2. It was just game 1 of a 3-game series last night, but tonight's a gut check game. And I'll tell you more about why and if I think the Phillies are up for the task. But, man, was it just an absolute flat-out mess. The Phillies started off well. First 3 innings, it was 3-0 Phils. They created opportunities on the base paths. Cristopher Sanchez looked dominant. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden, Sanchez just starts to struggle in the 4th. And he was losing it a little bit there, where you had a weird balk where his cleat gets stuck in the mound and he starts getting touched up a little bit, and the Mets start coming back, and you got the oh no sense in the pit of your stomach. The top of the 4th is the first issue because the Phils had opportunities, 1st and 2nd, no outs, and they didn't cash anything in. And that was kind of the you let them off the mat moment. And from that point forward, it was just a steady onslaught of the Mets coming back, then taking the lead, then taking over the game. We're going to talk more about Cristopher Sanchez in the next segment, so I don't want to dive too deep into my thoughts here. But he had his worst start of the year, right? It was terrible based on the standard that he has set, and it could not have come in a worse spot. Now, is that a one-off? We'll see. But it's definitely part of his responsibility to make sure stuff like last night doesn't happen. As the now ace of this team without Zach Wheeler, he didn't get the job done. Now, his offense could have given him more run support at the beginning. And what happened after the 4th inning was the Phils got no hit. So that was miserable. So the offense did not do him any favors. The defense did not do him any favors. You can have runners in scoring position left out there, and sometimes you'll win just on like home runs and creating opportunities. And I get that you could still win with that. But that coupled with a bad start from your starter, who you really count on, coupled with bad defensive miscues, including Bryce Harper completely bungling a pickoff that should have been an out that allows a runner, I think it was Soto, to advance to second base because you're just not doing the fundamental stuff well. Like all of this stuff was just it snowballed so fast on the Phillies from where they had complete control of this game to where they didn't have complete control of this game. And then in the midst of all of that stuff, before we even start to talk about the bullpen issues and the lack of fight that this team showed in their biggest game of the year so far, Alec Bohm delays the game for 10 minutes by pointing to something in center field. There was some microphone that was reflecting weird that must have gotten in the arm slot of like a lefty reliever. And then the next thing you know, they're delaying the game and everyone's standing around and you're waiting for the ground crew to go out there to remove the microphone, which seemed like an easy task and took two guys and 10 minutes worth of time. And now Sanchez is out of his rhythm when he comes back in because he had a long wait in between innings. The offense is out of their rhythm. And it just felt like such a bad spot to do that. I get that Bowman just grounded into a double play. And maybe the ball was right in that and he could not see it well. And if there's something in your field of vision that's affecting your ability to hit the baseball, this ain't like college ball, right? This ain't Little League. You bring it up, you point it out, they fix it. I'm not so much worried about that. It's just the timing and how long it took and how perturbed Bones seemed to be by it. It's just at some point you just got to chest up and say, hey, all right, whatever. Yeah, sure. That thing makes it a little bit tougher to see, but I'm not blaming it on that. No, you got to go out there and be a professional baseball player and fight through adversity, whether that's the other team kicking your teeth in, which the Mets did last night, or it's something in center field that might make it a little bit tougher to see. What, next time there's shadows, we're going to stop the game until the sun drops low enough that there aren't shadows in front of home plate anymore? Like, at some point, it starts to annoy you, right? It starts to tick you off. And that ticked me off last night, especially with how long the delay went. So all of this is bad vibes, right? The Phillies just did everything poorly. 2 errors, 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Sanchez gave up his most runs all year. And then we get to the bullpen. And then you get into a situation where, okay, well, David Robertson comes out and does all right and battles through a little bit and keeps the Phillies in the game. But you go to Jordan Romano in a game that wasn't over in that spot, that's waving the white flag. We'll have plenty more to say about Jordan Romano in the next segment, but putting him in a baseball game right now is waving a white flag. And frankly, I wouldn't have brought Chris Sanchez out for the 6th inning. He went 5 1/3, and he looked done in the 5th. He looked like he had lost it. He looked shaky in the 4th. And Rob Thompson saw 80-some pitches and said, hey, I got to stick with my guy. He's the ace of this staff now. Well, okay, but if the ace of your staff is having a bad night, go to the bullpen. And you have other guys than just Jordan Romano. You can go to somebody else. You can, right? You don't have to pitch that guy. It could be Tanner Banks. It could be Matt Strahm. It could be a Ryan Kerkering. It could be Jose Alvarado. You can use all of these guys in big spots. Now, some of those guys you don't want to throw in the 6th inning. But sometimes you need to try and fight to stay in a ball game. And the Phillies and Rob Thompson last night decided, hey, nope, we're not going with our best guys. We're going with a dude whose ERA is now over 8 for the season. And we're going to give up more runs and lose this game and turn it into a laugher. And that's embarrassing. And then Joe Ross comes out, and he's embarrassing. It was just a nightmare of everything. You couldn't get the bottom of the lineup out. The Phillies actually handled the Mets big boys well. Soto didn't have a great night. Alonso didn't have a great night. Lindor didn't have a great night. But the guys that killed you were guys like Luis Torrens and Brandon Nimmo and guys down near the lower part of the Mets lineup. And that's unacceptable. That should not happen. You have to be able to, in a lineup that has big-time talent at the top, take advantage of the lesser hitters. And they certainly didn't look like lesser hitters last night. And then, I mean, I'll be honest with you. About the 8th inning, I checked out. I still had the game on. I was still watching, but it's just like I'm not invested in this anymore because the Phillies were giving at bats away. They were not keeping their same approach. The bullpen did not go out there and give you anything to work with. The Phillies bullpen, I mean. The Mets bullpen has not been good recently. And they did not allow a hit to you. Like, that to me is just, hey, You thought you were beat, you laid down, you died. And if I've learned one thing from my lifetime, 30 years plus of Philadelphia sports fandom, this city will accept making mistakes at 100 miles an hour sometimes. This city will accept losing to a better opponent sometimes. But one thing that this city will never accept is the perception that you face adversity and you quit. And last night, it felt like the Philadelphia Phillies gave up on that game. Now, can you blame them when Jordan Romano comes in the game? Not necessarily at that point. But I thought it was over before that because you just felt the momentum completely shift and the Phillies could not grab it back. Now, it's just one baseball game. There is still a 6-game lead in the NL East. I am not saying season over. I am not saying you're going to lose the division. No. But last night was just, it was their 8th straight loss at Citi Field. They cannot handle playing this Mets team in that building, and that is an issue because you are the better baseball team and you are just getting punked by your biggest division rival in one of the bigger spots of the season. And that's unacceptable. And that goes back to last year's postseason, and that goes back to earlier this year when you were swept up at Citi Field. It's an embarrassing response from the Philadelphia Phillies to a big spot. And they now have to bounce back tonight. And we're going to talk later on about why this is such a big gut check game. And it goes more into what I was just discussing there with the idea that the Mets have their number. So what in the world do you do? I don't know that I have the answers, but it's certainly frustrating. And if you're feeling the way that I'm feeling today, you're probably not having a very good day. You know who else is not having a very good day? Cristopher Sanchez, who you saw kicking a trash can, showing emotion that he never shows in the dugout up in New York. Very uncharacteristic, but clearly he was upset with his performance. And Jordan Romano, who is feeling the wrath of the Delaware Valley and the Philadelphia fan base after his latest sterling performance out of the bullpen. We'll talk about those guys coming up next because there are interesting storylines and uncomfortable questions with both of them that we need to address as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. First, let's talk about FanDuel, though, because August 26th, it's finally here. It's today, FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches for just 24 hours. I mean, less than that now. FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Take a flyer on MVP. Maybe you think that Saquon Barkley is going to be even better than he was last year. And he finally shows that running backs can still win an MVP. It's a long shot, but you'll get good odds. Maybe you have a long shot Super Bowl winner, and you think a team like, I don't know, the Green Bay Packers, who have a talented roster but are in a tough division, might get good odds on them being the champion when everything's all said and done. Or you could just parlay your division winner dark horses. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets. Heck, you don't even really have time to plan it. It's today. So rush over to the FanDuel app, and Futures Day, it's today. Take advantage. FanDuel, play your game. Let's do Cristopher Sanchez first, because I may explode. I may break my computer when it comes to he who shall not be named, which is not Lord Voldemort for Harry Potter fans. No, it's Jordan Romano. Real quick before we get into the pitcher stuff, though, we do have an important request for you here. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. So this is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising as well. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. So you can win some money for them too. And we'd love to hear from you. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. 2 requests. Don't ask me to look any better. I've got the face I've got. And don't ask the Phillies to play any better. That is outside of our control here on the Locked On Podcast Network. But no, we'd love to hear from you. Now, this Sanchez thing that I want to get into first. Here is immediately where my brain went. And maybe this is not fair to him, but I can only speak how I'm feeling right now. He had a moment last night where he was in a big spot and he faced a little bit of adversity and he crumbled, completely collapsed. Like major fall apart status for Cristopher Sanchez once he got into trouble in the fourth inning. Lost command, lost composure, lost just about everything. I've never seen him this year look as hittable as he did last night in those middle innings. And the Mets took advantage. And the number one place that my mind went was, this is our guy that's going to be placed into these big time spots in October. Should we be heavily worried on this one performance about Cristopher Sanchez's ability to be the number one pitcher for the Phillies in the postseason? Now, my answer to that is no, for a couple reasons. One, this doesn't undo all the goodwill he's built up. Numbers are still strong. His stuff still looks good. He's not losing velocity. And he always is a guy that in his career has been close to Ranger Suarez in that kind of unflappable air where you never really see the moment too big for him. You never really see the game speed up on him. Now, it did last night. Is that because it was a bigger spot than he's normally used to? Maybe. Is that the pressure of Wheeler's not here anymore? You're the guy? Maybe. It could be something else. So the Phillies this year are 2-1 against the New York Mets at Citizens Bank Park. They're 0-4 against the Mets at Citi Field. And if you're worried about Cristopher Sanchez in the postseason, I will point you back to last year because he pitched against the New York Mets. And he went 5 innings in that postseason game and allowed 2 earned. Got the job done. That's all you needed from him at that point. And he pitched in the game they won. Now, the bullpen was a mess in that game, which is why it ended up going extras. He started that game, too, with the Nick Castellanos walk-off, if you don't remember. But that was at Citizens Bank Park. He threw well at home, and he's thrown well in some visiting ballparks. But Citi Field, man, just seems to be a house of horrors for everyone. Now, if the Mets make the playoffs, and if they eventually match up with the Phillies, I don't love that right now with the way this team's playing. I don't know how you could. The Mets feel like they can beat this team. The Phillies feel like they can't beat that team. But I'm not ready to hit the panic button on Cristopher Sanchez for any postseason opponent at any venue when I've seen him be really good at Citizens Bank Park, really good in other opposing stadiums. I don't know what it is about Citi Field, but the Phillies just do not play good baseball there. We've seen it with other places. San Francisco, Texas, even though they swept the Rangers, it was the first time they won in Texas since 2013, right? There are some places where your team just isn't built to play there well, or it just doesn't vibe with your team for some reason. But that's not an excuse when that place is your division rival stadium and you may have to go there in the postseason. And it cost you your postseason last year. So no, not acceptable, but I'm not hanging it on like Sanchez as a pitcher. I just wonder about the mentality of this team and of him. Romano is a totally different conversation. I need people to listen. I need people to listen carefully. If Jordan Romano touches the ball another time for the Philadelphia Phillies, we riot. He should be DFA'd. He should be off this team. His ERA over 8 is the highest for a Phillies pitcher with over 40 innings thrown in a season or 40 appearances, whatever the case may be, since like 1934. It's historically bad. He is terrible. He is unusable. He cannot be put out there again. It is disgraceful to the team. It is disgraceful to the fan base. It is disgraceful to the city. And I'm not trying to come after the individual, like who Jordan Romano is as a person, right? And I know there are people that are going to cross the line because that's how social media works. Don't go after the guy as a man, but you can certainly go after him as a pitcher and say, hey, you're not getting this done. Because that's what I'm saying right now. And I'm not just saying it to him. I'm saying it to Rob Thompson. You better not throw him again. I'm saying it to Dave Dombrowski. Why in the world is he still on this baseball team? How is it possible that you have not cut bait yet? You did it with Whit Merrifield early last year. So don't tell me, oh, well, we signed him in the offseason and we trust the resume. No, he stinks. Get him gone. And I don't care the argument of, oh, well, who do you want them to throw? Anybody else. I'd rather them give the ball to me or some random person in section 124 and just say, you go out there. Maybe something better happens. Also, you have other pitchers in the minors. Max Lazar's down there right now. I'll take Max Lazar over Jordan Romano a billion times out of a billion right now. He needs to be off this baseball team. And it was not his fault that they lost the game last night, right? It's not Jordan Romano was where that game went wrong. It went wrong before Romano went into the game. But he is non-competitive, and it is insulting to this fan base for him to continue to pitch with this uniform on. That's the reality of the situation, and the Philadelphia Phillies need to do the right thing. Now, when will they do it? If they do. It won't be today. It won't be tomorrow. I don't see them doing it on the road. But Thursday, when they come back home to take on remind me who they have, the Atlanta Braves. That's right. When they start their series at the bank, that's the time. You should get the notification Thursday. Jordan Romano has been designated for assignment. He's no longer with the Phillies. That's it. It's that simple. And if the Phillies don't do that, we should lose our minds because he does not deserve a spot on a World Series contending roster. He is not helping this team in any way. And it has been so bad for so long. It's almost unbelievable that he's still here, right? It's crazy. I don't know what type of dirt he has on the Phillies organization that allows him to still be on this baseball team, but that has to change. It has to change ASAP. And if ASAP is Thursday because you want to do it at home, that's fine. You normally see those roster moves made like when you're back at your home ballpark. But he can't pitch again this road trip in New York, and I don't want to see him pitch again for the Philadelphia Phillies this year, or really, frankly, ever. Again, if you're going to be critical of Jordan Romano, keep it to baseball. There's plenty there to keep you busy. Now, there's plenty for the Phillies to be busy with as they try and bounce back from last night's debacle. But tonight's a new night. And just like every other series before this one, there's always a chance that things turn around night to night. Games can look totally different from one performance to another. But this is a big-time spot for the Phils. This is gut check time. Who are you as a baseball team? I want to see it tonight. And we'll talk about what that means and what seeing it looks like as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. All right, let's talk about 5-hour energy. I'm fired up today. I don't necessarily need it because the Phillies have me angry, but that doesn't mean I'm always wide awake. And when it's time to fuel up and turn it up, that's when you go with 5-hour energy transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime-flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost, perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through the day, 5-hour energy transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Think about it. You're out on the course. It's a beautiful day. Sun shining, birds chirping, 80 degrees, little breeze. You're playing well, but then you hit the back nine. Like, maybe I'm tired. Beer's not going to wake you up. A hot dog's going to just weigh you down. That's why you got to go with the 5-hour energy transfusion. Golf's all about good times with good people and good flavors. And that's why the grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-hour energy transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. And they've also got a great opportunity here. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Gut check time, Phils. I'm talking to all you, each and every one. Every guy on that roster right now, every coach in the dugout, the GM, the president of baseball operations, the owner. Now, only 9 of those guys are going to be playing at a given time tonight. So it's on the players that are actually on the field. But this is everybody. This is a mentality because the Mets are not beating you because they're better at baseball. They're beating you because they believe they can, and you believe you can't beat them. It's all in the Phillies' head at this point. Not all, because the Mets are not a bad baseball team, right? They're a darn good one. Even though they haven't been playing well lately, they still have talent. So it's not like this is the Colorado Rockies. All due respect, ricochet shot there, but I'm feeling feisty today. My point is this. It's so obvious that the Phillies are mentally dominated by facing this Mets team that You can't deny it. And that is not something that is acceptable. Now, how do you get out of that? I don't know. It's not as simple as saying, screw these guys, we're not going to lose to them again, right? You have to go out and play the game. But some ways, it is as simple as saying, screw these guys, we're going to go out there and beat them today. Like at some point, you just got to look in the mirror and say, hey, what type of team are we going to be? If you're Bryce Harper, if you're Kyle Schwarber, if you're Alec Boehm, JT Realmuto, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos, who did not play last night, who should get the chance to play tonight with Sean Manaea on the mound, you get a chance to see a lefty. Like, it's time to toughen up. There is no more accepting this, oh, well, you have a 6-game lead in the division now, so if it falls to 5 and then falls to 4 and you get swept, you still have this lead. No. We're done for the time of messing around with giving up games in the division. And we're done with the time of losing to this Mets team and getting embarrassed by a team that you have a lead on in the division that has not been able to play basically anybody well for the past month. You are giving them life when you do stuff like that. And the Phillies, we had a conversation on the radio today. Do they have the it factor? Are they just missing that, that winning feel about them when you see a game like last night? I would argue that they do have it, or they are closer to having it. They're not deficient in it. They've beaten the Braves in the past 3 years, right? The Braves in 2 monster playoff series where they were the dogs in that. That was a damn good baseball team. You beat them. You beat the Marlins comfortably in a postseason game. You did not let them have any hope of beating you. You beat the Padres in a year where they had knocked off a 100-win division winner in the Los Angeles Dodgers to go to the World Series, right? You had a lead in the World Series against the Houston Astros. You were in a situation where you say, okay, this Philadelphia Phillies team has come really close. And teams that don't have it, like I wouldn't call the Astros series a choke in the World Series in 22. Houston was the better team. They played the better baseball. The Phillies did not play good enough baseball to their standard to give it as good of a shot as they should have. But the one that bothers me more is the Arizona series. And that is just like the bats went cold. I didn't see that as a they don't want it bad enough. It was a, hey, we all slumped and it's a helpless feeling. But I don't see the Phillies as a team that doesn't have like the it factor. Like Bryce Harper has the it factor. Kyle Schwarber has the it factor. Trey Turner this year clearly has the it factor. There are guys that Nick Castellanos. There are guys that have come up huge in huge postseason spots. Where the Phillies have an issue is literally just the Mets. Right now, this team has been playing great baseball recently, and they go in and they look like a totally different team when they go into that building. I don't know how many more times I can say it without driving myself insane. But this is more just this singular opponent. So I don't want this grand proclamation of like what the Phillies are and what they aren't based on one baseball game to take over. What I will say is it better not be 2 baseball games. This is a gut check. This is one where you say, okay, we can either fall deeper into the hole that we put ourselves in last night by losing 13-3 and allowing the Mets to once again believe they are the better team, even though I don't believe that they are. And I don't think Phillies fans should believe that the Mets are better, which is why we should be so ticked off that Phils played the way they did last night. Or what you can do is you can go out tonight and you can win the baseball game, whether it's 1 run, 5 runs, 10 runs, 20 runs. Don't care how much you win by. You go out, you win a baseball game, you prove to yourself, hey, last night was last night. Bryce Harper talked about flushing it after the game, and fitting that they're playing up in Flushing tonight. But okay, don't talk about it, be about it. Go out there and play better baseball, win a game against an opponent you should beat more often than you lose to based on what the record says this year, and earn back some of the confidence that you lost last night. You got Jesus Luzardo on the mound. He was awesome against the Mariners in his last start. Will you expect him to strike out 12 again in 6 innings and change? No. But can you expect him to go 5 or 6 and 2 earned or less? Sure. Sean Manaea, who's going for the Mets, he cooked the Phillies in the postseason last year. This year, his numbers do not look great. A 5.15 ERA, like 36 2/3 innings pitched because he was hurt for a lot of the year. He is not at his best. He still has great strikeout stuff, but he has not been able to really command the baseball the way he wants to, move the baseball the way he wants to. And this is the tough part. Bad pitcher right now by the numbers. Pitcher that has dominated the Phillies. So can they wipe that mental weakness of saying this guy owns us and go out there and just put together good approaches and win a game that they should win? Or are they going to show us again that they just can't hang with this team? Are we going to be even more ticked off tomorrow? Tomorrow might just be sadness. It might not be anger. Today it's anger. Tonight they can rectify it. And everybody needs to step up. I expect the outfield to be probably Weston Wilson, Harrison Bader, and Nick Castellanos. The reason why I expect Weston Wilson to play is I think they're trying to get as many guys in the lineup that did not play last night to kind of get that stink off them. I expect it to be Edmundo Sosa second for Bryson Stott. All of these things are good things because, man, last night didn't work. So maybe just the mentality, right? You don't know what you don't know. And those guys might not be as affected as the we can't beat them thing because they don't play as much. But we'll see. Somebody or some bodies need to step up big time for the Phillies. I cannot accept another loss to the Mets in this series. But history would tell you that's what's coming. So we'll see if the Phillies can fight that off and show us that there is fight and life and fire in that clubhouse with everything they have on the line this year. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribe to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out. Thank you again for getting us through 5,000 subscribers on Locked On Phillies. Next up, let's double it. Let's go for 10,000 subscribers. We don't stop here on Locked On Phillies, even when they don't give us good stuff to talk about. And we will talk tomorrow, good or bad, whatever the result, on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.